All right, now we've got the second session, part 3. Let's get right into this second of 4 sessions under the part 3 title, Fraud in Space Science. After the previous focus on NASA's role in space science fraud, this second session follows up with a look at 2 of the biggest tools in NASA's toolbox, namely phony telescopes and cameras.
I've got a good example to start out on, Bobo. It's something that just about everybody has seen with their own eyes. All we have to do is look at the warning printed on the rear view mirror on the passenger side of our cars. That warning says, "Objects in mirror are closer than they appear." Keep that message in mind as we go along.
Yeah, and while you're thinking about it, just think what can be done with that simple design principle by making objects in space, stars especially, appear further away than they really are. This familiar example of our car mirror tells us about it's an elementary truth concerning mirrors. That truth is this: with very little effort, mirrors can be made that literally change reality big time. But this car mirror example, as we've talked about, Vern, is just child's play compared to the distortions of reality that NASA and others are using in their space telescopes. Just get ready to listen to some facts about what their computerized telescopes embody. That is, how they're made and what they actually have inside of them. Listen to this description of how some mirrors are configured inside a powerful space telescope. Quote, this telescope has, quote, conical foil X-ray mirrors. In plain language, these are cone-shaped mirrors, and there are multiple ones in there. Cone-shaped mirror, think about it. Wrapped in a foil, which is a very thin metallic backing, which is applied to glass to form a mirror. It's also used to put under gems to increase their color or brilliancy, which mirrors are affixed in a broadband X-ray telescope. And then we have, quote, spherical mirrors and parabolic mirrors effects and aluminized mylar thermal covers over the mirror aperture. And reflectivity tests on sample foils and tests on small mirror segments and backscattering from adjacent reflectors. There's a lot going on inside those telescopes besides reporting on something far off. This source also says, quote, constructive solid geometry, CSG, allows us to simulate perfect mirrors. It allows us to simulate perfect mirrors. Quote, reflective and refractive materials are used for the mirrors and lenses. Why? To make a real-world simulation. CSG, constructive solid geometry, computer code, constructs 3D worlds. Now, you thought those pictures on your TV were real, didn't you?
Would you repeat that last quote?
Sure. CSG, constructive solid geometry, computer code, constructs 3D worlds.
Ye gads. And all these funny simulated reality is actually built into those space telescopes?
You bet it is. It's in the virtual Newton telescope, the William Herschel telescope, the Hubble Space Telescope, and on, using this technology, which is specifically designed to deceive. NASA and other space agencies regularly make lying claims about, quote, discoveries such as, quote, distance as galaxies 10 billion light years away.
Oh, boy. Do we ever stop and think how ridiculous such claims are? 1 light year is 6 trillion miles. 10,000 million times a trillion? Oh, give me a break.
Well, that's what it says. Viewing computer-programmed objects produced by funny mirrors, we could say, and spectroscopic ultraviolet tricks. And X-rays may be cool, man, but it isn't real, and it certainly isn't science. We can ooh and ah over the technology involved in these deceptive instruments if that's what turns us on, and the engineers come up with some stuff that's real, there's no doubt about that. But if we really love true science, remember one of the definitions of fraud, which is imposter. These telescopes are the indispensable tools in the toolbox of an incredibly powerful theoretical science establishment. This establishment is on a nearly completed mission of burying true science and truth itself, with every lying report they make of so-called discoveries in deep space. Now here's another item on telescopes, just off the net a few weeks ago, from NASA. The heading is this, quote, the James Webb Space Telescope. And beneath that heading there's an illustration with these words on it. Planets and origins of life. Planets and origins of life. Planets and origins of life. It's always in there. I don't care what the subject that NASA's reporting on, you will see these messages about evolution. Remember what was said in Part 2 about NASA's agenda being pursued under their Origins program? And that their stated purpose is to search for clues to help us find our cosmic roots? Anyway, under the picture we read, quote, the James Webb Space Telescope is a large infrared optimized space telescope scheduled for launch in 2013. This telescope will find the first galaxies that formed in the early universe, connecting the Big Bang to our own Milky Way galaxy. Now, do you find it just a little bit odd that they already know what it's going to find 4 years before it's launched? Well, they can be sure they're going to find it because it will already be programmed in the computer what they're going to show you and what you'll see. Quote, the optimized infrared telescope, will peer through dusty clouds 10 billion light years away to see stars forming planetary systems, oh Lord, connecting the Milky Way to our own solar system. The James Webb Space Telescope will be designed to work primarily in the infrared range of the electromagnetic spectrum, with some capability in the visible range.
In other words, we can't see any of what they say is happening. We know what that science speak means. The Apostle Paul describes it perfectly in 1 Timothy 6:20 and 21, warning us, quote, to avoid profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science falsely so called. To avoid profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science falsely so called. That's a good one.
The article goes on to say this about this James Webb telescope to be launched in 2013. Quote, it will have a large mirror over 21 feet in diameter. Well, there's a fact for you. That's large. Quote, infrared is the key word here with this latest tax-funded science fiction monster. We'll get the juicy facts about that lying infrared technique in the third session of Part 3. There's just so much on these deceptive telescopes that we can only give you a few more examples and then point you to some links if you want more information, as we've done in the other sessions. Vern and I will quote from Part 6 of a 7-part study. This is a 19-page essay with 57 documented quotes from qualified sources, which you can find in subject area number 3. The title is More Unyielding Evidence of Flagrant Deceptions in the Measurement of Star Distances. Several of those pages 3 to 10 basically, deal with telescopes. The first quote from a Tyler Nordgren article gives away one of the most important cover-ups about all deep space claims. Quotation: "If one could look through the 200-inch telescope on Mount Palomar, one would see nothing more than the same points of light you would see by simply walking outside and looking up. Why are stars the sole holdout in the revolution up to now? Simply put, stars are very small and very far away." What's that tell you, Vern?
Well, it admits that even using a telescope with a 21-foot aperture, no one has ever distinguished one star from another one. All they see is a point of light. No telescope has ever resolved, that is, distinguished a star's shape or size. All those colorful so-called photographs showing a little golden sun-like star with planets going around and so forth, it's just pure, unadulterated deception. They are artist concepts, pre-programmed computer simulations designed to trick us into believing their Big Bang fantasy is science.
With all the talk about the wonderful things attributed to the Hubble telescope, here's something good to know. Quote, "The Hubble Deep Field is only surveyed 1/36 millionth of the sky. Yet this survey has given birth to extrapolations all over the universe that is 36 million times bigger than the sample." Here's another quote. "Ground-based optical near-infrared large telescopes are crucial tools, but their image quality is severely limited, leading to more and more sophisticated techniques. Until recently," the quotation continues, "until recently the astronomical telescope has remained a, quote, passive instrument, without any inbuilt corrective devices to establish a resolution of star images during observations." Before they put in these corrective devices, it was just a telescope. But now it's going to give you some more information. "Because of the high bandwidth and the small field to which correction is applied, adaptive optics uses a small deformable mirror. In some current projects, the possibility of using a large deformable secondary mirror is being developed." Deformable. Think about it. Here is one more quotation on telescope mirrors from a 7-page essay found in subject area number 3, second title down. Quote, "NASA's Hanky-Panky Virtual Reality Technology" is the name of that title. Quote here is, "Distributed optics opens a world of possibilities as to how to configure the multiple small mirrors in the system." Another quote says it all. "The new generation space telescope is designed to produce a pretty ratty image that looks like an interference pattern." Then the question, why would one possibly want to form an interference pattern rather than a picture? Answer, because with the help of a computer, a series of interference patterns can be combined to form a perfect image, and this synthesized image will get sharper and sharper. There is no fundamental limit to this technique of ultimately giving the human race a glimpse of the features of another world very much like our own. You might as well get ready for it. It's all planned out. We've got to do, I think, a couple more here, Vern, and then we'll shut down. And this is entitled "The Image Warper." It tells how, quote, "algorithm permits user specification of geometric transformations by using 2 or more control segments at a time. Users can create more complicated transformations. The necessary information is just encoded into the telescope." Another report speaks of multi-layer mirrors in each telescope and what they can do, and concludes with this: "It may be preferable to encode all the necessary information into the existing telescope." Finally, just a little idea of space cameras in the computer-generated virtual reality universe. These cameras are examples of the theoretical science establishment's purely fraudulent technology. This quotation speaks of a, quote, planetary camera simulator made to, quote, exact information out of the faint end of a luminosity function. A means of creating simulated images is needed. Quote, the general outline is to encode in the camera with these features, that is, doesn't have any stars in it. One, fill in the stars. Divide the image into a flat field. Add a certain noise to it, and so on. What is that you're waving at me, Vern? You just found it on today's news? What's it say? Let me see it. Headline, quote, NASA to launch planet hunting telescope Friday, March 6, 2009. Here's what it says. A NASA telescope was cleared to launch on Friday on a mission to look for Earth-like planets around other stars and determine whether there are places that could support human-like life in our solar system. Beyond our solar system, The Kepler telescope has light-collecting devices that are sensitive enough to detect slight changes in the number of photons emanating from more than 100,000 stars. They say they've already found more than 340 planets circling stars beyond our solar system. That's a lie. All that stuff is not true. Kepler is designed solely to hunt. We'll see that when we get to the infrared and so on. This NASA scientist, she said, I, for one, don't want to live in an empty universe where we're the best there is. That's a very scary thought to many of us.
Poor fella sounds lonely there, doesn't he, Bobo? Anyway, we need to move on, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. We need to get on with explanations in the third session about the roles that redshift and infrared technologies play in this virtual reality fantasy called space science. All right, now we've got the second session, part 3. Let's get right into this second of 4 sessions.